What if I told you the global car industry just swerved hard, away from the US and straight into Canada's arms? 7 countries, billions in deals, jobs saved, economies re-engineered. This isn't just a trade story, it's a full-throttle revolution. And it's happening right now. Welcome to Global Pulse, where we break down seismic shifts in global trade and what they mean for the industries that keep the world moving. In early 2025, the U.S. lit the fuse on a trade bombshell, slapping tariffs as high as 50% on foreign steel and aluminum. The ripple effect? Explosive. Supply chains cracked. Factories stalled. But 7 nations hit the gas, ditching the U.S. and drafting behind Canada in a bold new strategy to protect their industries and futures. From Brazilian beef to German hydrogen, this is a story of high-stakes pivots, smart alliances, and the countries rewriting the rules of global trade on the fly. Let's dive in. Brazil's beefy pivot north. It started with beef and a brutal blow. In March 2025, Brazil's agricultural exports were slapped with a 25% U.S. tariff. We're talking soy, ethanol, and most painfully, beef, a sector pumping out nearly $123 billion a year. But Brazil didn't blink. Instead, it rewrote the playbook. Within weeks, Brazil struck a $2 billion trade deal with Canada, rerouting entire supply chains. Beef rolled into Alberta and Manitoba. Soybeans cruised toward Winnipeg and Saskatoon. Ethanol shipped straight to Quebec. The result? 5,000 Brazilian ranching jobs saved. 400 new roles created in Canadian meatpacking. Another 250 in grain co-ops. And Brazil wasn't done. It spun the ethanol byproducts into fresh deals with China, proving that in a tariff war, adaptability is king. When the U.S. closed one door, Brazil kicked open 2 more. Mexico's high-speed auto parts detour. Next up, Mexico. And when Washington slammed a 35% tariff on Mexican auto parts, it hit like a jackknife, especially in automotive strongholds like Ciudad Juarez and Monterrey. But Mexico didn't stall. They floored it. Enter the Triple North Corridor Alliance, an $8.2 billion pact with Canada that rerouted everything from fuel injectors to electronic control units. Canadian cities like Windsor and Brampton roared back to life, with assembly lines and logistics hubs suddenly booming. From Mexican suppliers, it was salvation. Jobs stayed. Plants stayed open. There was just one speed bump. Fears in Canada that some Chinese components might slip through the back door. That stirred a hornet's nest of debates about the USMCA's integrity and whether bilateral fixes were needed. Still, the Mexico-Canada pipeline proved one thing loud and clear. Cross-border teamwork is a powerful engine when protectionism threatens to grind things to a halt. Australia's mining masterstroke. For Australia, it was minerals and a serious jolt. The U.S. hit critical raw materials like iron, ore, and lithium with a 30% tariff. That put Australia's mining economy, the lifeblood of its GDP, in a bind. Their response? A detour with horsepower. In April, Australia launched the Northern Stars Initiative, a $3.5 billion deal with Canada. Iron ore was rerouted to ports like Vancouver and Thunder Bay, giving Ontario's steel mills a vital boost. An 18% spike in output by mid-year. On the lithium front, Australian producers partnered with a Canadian electrobus firm, sending battery-grade lithium carbonate to Welland, Ontario. That preserved over 2,100 jobs down under and kept battery innovation humming. Australia's pivot wasn't just damage control. It was strategic acceleration. In a world racing toward electrification, minerals are the new oil. And Australia just rewired its distribution grid from the Pacific to the Great White North. France's hydrogen jolt. Meanwhile, France's hydrogen dream almost short-circuited. In 2025, a 30% U.S. tariff on hydrogen electrolyzers left French factories frozen and future contracts evaporating. So France flipped the switch. By April, they signed a $1.2 billion hydrogen infrastructure pact with Canada. French tech flowed in, Canadian jobs blossomed out. 1,000 French workers stayed employed. 850 Canadians got new roles, trained specifically to run those precision-engineered electrolyzers. This wasn't just a patch job. It fed directly into France's audacious hydrogen roadmap. For 0.5 gigawatts of capacity by 2030, backed by a $4 billion public fund. France and Canada's partnership didn't just restart the engine. It supercharged it, combining cutting-edge tech and political will in a clean energy handshake that could power the next era of mobility. But the global rerouting doesn't stop there. South Korea's battery giants are charging up new pathways. Denmark is catching a second wind, literally. And Germany? They're going all in with a double-barreled strategy that could reshape the entire auto-hydrogen landscape. South Korea's battery breakaway. In 2025, a 20% U.S. tariff on lithium-ion modules hit South Korea hard. Export lanes to California? Jammed. Factories? At risk of shutting down. But South Korea didn't wait around. LG Chem and Samsung SDI struck a $1.7 billion deal with Northvolt Canada, rerouting 500,000 battery modules to Canadian hubs like Windsor, London, and Hamilton. This wasn't just a trade reroute, it was a lifeline. 3,000 South Korean jobs were preserved, while Canada trained 700 new technicians to assemble cutting-edge Korean battery packs. And they're not stopping. LG Energy Solution unveiled plans to build the world's first 4680 battery plant in Chungbuk, a leap in EV battery innovation. In a world sprinting toward electrification, South Korea is staying ahead of the curve, with Canada riding shotgun. Denmark's wind energy pivot. Denmark's renewable sector faced brutal headwinds when a 30% U.S. tariff froze wind turbine exports. But instead of collapsing, Denmark moved fast, signing a $1.5 billion deal with Canada. Wind components shifted north to Nova Scotia and Saskatchewan. Denmark preserved 900 jobs. Canada gained 1,100 new green energy roles. The bigger picture? Denmark's doubling offshore wind capacity, adding 3 gigawatts of tenders. This partnership isn't just about trade. It's about powering the future. Germany's precision pivot. When the U.S. dropped a 25% tariff on German cars and parts, Berlin fired back, strategically. They secured a $10 billion duty-free auto parts quota with Canada. The result? German components kept Canadian assembly lines alive. Workers in Ontario stayed on the job, and supply chains remained intact. But Germany wasn't finished. They also signed a hydrogen energy pact with Canada, securing clean hydrogen supplies critical to their climate goals. This wasn't panic. It was planning. Germany protected its automotive base while pushing forward on the hydrogen frontier. In one move, they secured trade, jobs, and a cleaner future, all while sidestepping tariffs. These aren't just headlines, they're blueprints. As the U.S. leaned into tariffs, nations like South Korea, Denmark, and Germany rewrote the rules. The lesson? Flexibility beats fear. Innovation beats isolation. And in this new trade era, Canada isn't just a backup. It's becoming the center of the wheel. Which of these global pivots do you think will reshape the automotive industry most? Could this be the start of a long-term shift? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the world of global industry and trade, hit like, subscribe, and turn on that bell. This is Global Pulse. Stay sharp, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.